It's on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Brandon, are we good? We're good. Okay. Wow, this is awesome. Thank you all for coming today. We saw a high turnout list on the RSVPs, but you never know what's going to happen, so we're glad all of you came. Can you hear me in the back? Awesome. Okay, so welcome to today's Lunch and Learn by Tinderbox Marketing with Josh King. I'm going to turn it over to him real quick, but first I just want to let you know, if you haven't looked at our events calendar coming up, all of our events, at least for the first half of the year, are all on our calendar. We have an Ecosystem Connect, which is our fun evening networking event on the 16th at 5:30 here, so we'd love to see all of you come to that. Great place to network with other entrepreneurs and small businesses and the community in general. So otherwise, I'm just going to turn it over to him because all of you look eager to learn today, so thanks.
Awesome, thank you. Is it cool if I promote next week's workshop too?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So a couple of housekeeping things. If I handed you a sheet of paper, will you raise that in the air? There we go. There's 3 of them going around. If you want a copy of today's deck and a resource guide that I normally print, but with like 50 of you, that's just not eco-friendly. So if you want a copy of those, put your name and email address on one of the pieces of paper rolling around, and we'll make sure to get that. Also, I did not bring enough business cards for all of you. So if your name's on there, you'll also get an email with all my contact information. So like 3 birds, 1 stone. There we go. So Crash Course in Social Media, I get asked to do social media workshops a lot, and very often people say, can you do it in 1 hour, which would sort of be like trying to teach somebody to drive in an hour, which is impossible. So next week's workshops, while I'm talking about it, try to dig more into how to use social media, the logistical ins and outs of how to upload a picture to Facebook and how to make sure you have the right Facebook page set up and those kinds of things. Today is more like, how do we get ready for strategy? And I'll talk more about that, we'll get into that. But starting next Tuesday here, and the details are all on the website, there are 3 workshops that start next Tuesday, so it'll be consecutive Tuesdays. And we spend, the first workshop, we spend 3 hours on Facebook alone. And we go from like beginner, novice, all the way through business page. The next week, if I get it wrong, don't hurt me. I think the next week is Pinterest and Instagram, and then the following week is LinkedIn and Twitter. So all 3-hour workshops, all a deep dive on how to use them. That's not what today is, but I promise today will be awesome. Okay, are we good? Everybody on the same page? Awesome. All right, so let's get crazy. Let's have some fun. Here's some tips for today. The first one is to think about your goals, right? Think goals. That's the first tip. The next one is to ask questions. With 50 of you, let's try to keep the questions on if maybe you didn't hear me or you want me to dig in a little bit more, but please not like specific to you and your problems. I would answer that after the workshop. We just have too many people and not enough time. And the last one is start now. Too often people sit in a workshop like this and they take notes and then they go back and the busyness of work and life happens and they never do the things that they just learned. So I will walk you through practical steps on how to build a strategy and how to get started and how to plan ahead for using social media. And if you're writing stuff now, you have to just go home and start implementing it. All right, here's some things we will hopefully learn today. What a marketing plan looks like, or a light version of a marketing plan. And the reason is social media should not be put on an island. Too often people come to me in my business and say, hey, things aren't doing so well in our business and we'd like to be on social media because that's going to solve all of our problems. And it won't. Spoiler alert. There's no magic pill when it comes to running a business. There's no lightning in a bottle. Most people who find success as an entrepreneur or a small business owner grind it out day in and day out, and it starts with a really good marketing plan that touches everything, including social media. So we're going to talk about a marketing plan because your social media better be a part of that, not separate and not on an island. All right, next one is, should your business be using social media? And the answer is yes, I think you should be. Even if I get people after every workshop coming to me, well, my business shouldn't be, and I'll tell you why. And I'll go, there's still a reason for you to be there. There's always at least one social media site that will make sense for your business. And then, speaking of which, we'll talk about how to decide which platforms make the most sense for your business. We all good? And then resources to learn more, which, like I said, we'll just shoot that to you in a PDF following the workshop. I like this quote. This quote comes from Matt Goulart. I assume that's how you say his name. I've never actually heard it said out loud. But social media is about the people, not about your business. Provide for the people, and the people will provide for you. And here's what Matt means by that, or at least what I think he means by that, which is, my product might be amazing and my business might be awesome, but talking about my business and my product, if I'm ignoring my customer, will only get me so far. Your product or your service solves a problem, or it should solve a problem, right? It takes care of something for people. And if you're not focusing on those people and how to make their lives better, you're really not going to be successful on social media. I drive by this coffee shop up north. I think it's Oasis Coffee. I don't think, which is not important, but it's one of those independently owned coffee stands. On the sign, they have the ones where you can put the letters on it on your own, and it says, so their sign with the name Oasis Coffee, and then it says, like us on Facebook. And I drive by, and every time I see that, I go, why? Why would I like them on Facebook? Why would I follow them on Facebook? And the reason why I say that is, it's great that that coffee stand is using social media, but what they're not saying is, what's in it for me? Because we know how people are. We know how we are. Social media and people using it are going to eventually get around to, why am I following you? What's in it for me? So we'll talk about that. Social media can be completely overwhelming, can be a little intimidating. Last time I looked into it, there was about 200 sites in the US alone that qualified as a social media site. Obviously, we're not going to talk about all of those. But something fun is I'm trying to read my deck without getting too close to the mic and too much in front of the screen. 13 of those social media sites, 13 of them have over 100 million users. So these are huge sites with huge footprints that reach a lot of people, which is good for us as business owners. So here's some things I want to talk about. Again, don't write these things down. These are just for fun, and I'll send you the deck afterward. The fastest growing demographic on Twitter is the 55 to 64-year-old age bracket. So if you think A, Twitter is dying, and B, it's only for young people, you are wrong. That demographic has grown 79% since 2012 as we think about who's using social media. Fastest growing demographic on Facebook is still that 45 to 54-year-old age bracket. Still a fast growing demographic. That group has jumped 46% since 2012. Facebook has 989 million mobile users active every day. Every day. Okay, so let's think about that. This is one of my fun stuff. If I know that a large number of people are using Facebook from their mobile device, and I'm trying to connect with those people on a mobile device, because we all have one of these, what does that mean about my website? It should be mobile, right? I was working with a client, a physical therapy group, and we looked into the data and found that over 50% of their traffic came from mobile devices, and their website was not mobile friendly. So what do you think happens when I'm on Facebook, I see your ad or I see your post, and I'm so captivated by what you say, I click on it, and it takes me to your website, and your website doesn't work on my phone. What do you think I do? I leave, right? I go back. I close. I don't buy from you. I don't interact with you. I don't engage with you. So that's something to think about. The next one, Facebook use accounts for 1 in every 6 minutes spent online and 1 in every 5 minutes spent on mobile. 1/3 of Facebook users engage with brands on Facebook regularly. That's important for us. That means 1/3 of the people there are seeing a company or a business or an organization. That's awesome for us. YouTube reaches more U.S. adults aged 18 to 34 than any cable television network. Now, if you're a local business, like a hyper-local business with a storefront in a town, is YouTube the channel for you to reach young people? Probably not. Because if your video goes viral, does that mean it's going to reach everybody in your neighborhood? Now, it doesn't mean it's not a good place to put that video, and it doesn't mean it's not a smart channel. We just have to think through, how are these people using that site, and is it the best site for us? Every second, 2 new members join LinkedIn, so not dying, still something people use. Raise your hand if you have a LinkedIn account. Keep your hand up if you use it at least once a week. So a good chunk of the LinkedIn users are on there weekly. 42% of Twitter users learn about products and services using Twitter, which is, again, good news for us if Twitter's the right channel for us. This is one of my favorites. 25% of smartphone owners ages 18 to 44 say they can't recall the last time their smartphone wasn't right next to them. I cannot tell you the last time I didn't have this with me. which is silly and sad all at the same time, right? All right, good, we got a little bit of a laugh going. We'll have some fun now. All right, okay, so normally what I do with this slide is I give you a definition of what social media actually is according to Wikipedia. I'm going to do my best to read it from here. Social media are computer-mediated tools that allow people to create, share, or exchange information, ideas, and pictures and videos in virtual communities and networks. And the reason why I bring this up is a lot of times we talk about social media, and there are quietly, there's a good percentage of people in this room that probably think, and they hear social media, they hear the term, and they think, I really don't get what that is. Like, I get that it's Facebook, and I get that it's Instagram, but what does social media actually mean? Well, that definition from Wikipedia, what it really is saying, these things that we used to do in the real world, like go to networking events or go to our family reunion, we don't have to do those things in person anymore. We can just connect with people on Facebook, because who really wants to see that crazy uncle that spent too much time in jail, right? We all have that uncle. I don't want to see that person. So we just connect with them on Facebook, and we keep them at arm's length, right? But really, that's what social media is. It's the way we used to connect in the real world, given a platform online. So we don't necessarily have to do these things in the real world. All right, so now that we're talking the same language, we understand what social media is. How does social media fit into the larger story of your organization? So what we're talking about is your marketing. How are you marketing your business currently? What are the things that you're doing well to market and sell your business? And how can we incorporate social media into that? So the first thing we have to do is look at a light version of a marketing plan. And I like the hub and spoke marketing model because it's super simple and it makes sense to most people. Every business has a hub, a place where you need people to go, right? To do business with you, for you to make money, for a result to happen or a transaction to take place. So if you know what your hub is, where you need people to go, can be a website, can be a phone number like the olden days with phone books, can be a retail location or a physical location. If you know where you need people to go, then all of these things, all the spokes become the strategies that you're going to use to drive people there. Social media just ends up being one or two, maybe three of the spokes. But if you're doing things like spending money on traditional advertising and it's working for you, how can you take that strategy that you used on your successful billboard or radio campaign and transition that into social media? If you go to networking events on a regular basis and you attend in-person networking events and they work for you, how can you incorporate social media in that? The easiest one is you start taking pictures while you're there and posting them on social media and talking about what you're doing. I went to this networking event last night. I met 3 great new people. It was an awesome time. And you post that on your business's social media site. If you are really good through your business at developing strategic relationships, and what I mean by that is I have a customer group that I want to meet, and you have that same customer group, and you're already meeting and talking and doing business with them. Why don't we figure out how to work together so that I can get access to the customers that you're already reaching that just so happen to be the people I want to reach? And a lot of businesses do this really well, right? You call it upselling. Think about when you buy online and you're buying something on Amazon, and at the bottom Amazon says, because you like this, here are things that other people who bought this have bought as well. It's just that same concept, but instead of going, I'm going to try to find all my customers on my own, I'm going to work with businesses that already reach those people. If you do that really well in the real world as a part of your marketing strategy, how can you take that and put it into the social media landscape? Can you connect with those businesses on social media? Can you talk about those relationships, right? These are the things we have to think about. I talk about, we use the word influencers now, right? Which really is just like famous people who are famous for no real reason other than they're on Instagram. But influencers are people who motivate and move people. So in Instagram, the really popular one now is like that fitness space, right? I am fit, I live a fit lifestyle, I take lots of pictures of how fit I am, and all of a sudden, people want to know how I got fit, right? That's an influencer, right? That's what that means. Somebody's laughing. Like, I guess you've seen what I've seen. By the way, don't search those hashtags. You're going to get more than you bargained for on Instagram. But sometimes an effective strategy can be connecting with people who do a really good job of motivating others. So if you had a fitness product, right, a new way for people to maintain that lifestyle, you might look to connect with influencers, have them use your product and share it on social media. These are, effective strategies. So we have to think, what are we doing well? The other thing to think about is, what are you doing in sales? Sales is always the hardest part of running a business for most people, right? Most people struggle with that. It's the transaction. Sometimes it's face-to-face. It's me meeting with one other person. Sometimes it's just my e-commerce website. But sales is that part where the transaction takes place. But if you're good at it and you find you're successful, start thinking about the things that you're doing there and how can you transition that and translate that to social media. Does that make sense? Don't put social media on an island. That's bad news. All right. Another way to think about it is, to me, there's three pieces to a business when it comes to the marketing side. There's marketing, advertising, and sales. And it can look a lot like this. So marketing to me, these are my terms, marketing to me are all the things that we do to tell the story about our business. It can be social media, it can be our website, it can be our newsletter that we send, right? It can be those things. Advertising is when we want to pay for that story to be told to a specific group of people. So I want to run a radio campaign, or I want to pay for some Facebook advertising. So you have your marketing piece, which tends to be free-ish things or free things. Advertising is when we pay for it. And then sales, that's the transaction. Now, some of you, even if you have an e-commerce website, your sales is done through the website. But you might have like a PS to the sales piece, which is the customer service piece. Right? So for some of us, sales, like for me in my business, in Tinderbox Marketing, I meet with people one-on-one. And we talk about stuff, and then I pitch them, right? Here's what I can do for you, and here's what it'll cost. It's one-on-one, interpersonal, right? Some of you, it might be over the phone, it might be a different strategy. Some of you, like I said, it might be your website. When it's a customer service-based thing, so let's think the restaurant industry for this. When it's customer service, sales is done in a different way. I walk into a restaurant and I rely on the staff to take care of me, right? The owner may not be doing it. And in that environment, customer service is your sales, because if it's bad, you're not going to make a lot of money. And I'll give you an example. I went to lunch with a friend of mine. Went to a pizza place up north. We walk in, it was lunchtime, there was a sign that said, please wait to be seated, and there was no one to be found. And you can look into the back and you could see the kitchen, and there was 3 staff members milling around doing stuff. They saw us, we saw them, and not one of them came up and said anything to us. Do you know why they didn't come up and say anything to us? Because they all thought, that's not my job. Right? And I say this in every workshop when this comes up. If you have "it's not my job" people on your team, they are killing your business. Get rid of them. Because that's customer service. That's sales. So here's the thing. This is why I bring this up. Your marketing or social media can be killing it, and it could be spinning like crazy. And maybe you have a little bit of advertising dollars, and it's doing really well. But if your customer service is terrible, it does not matter how good those things are. You're not going to make any money, right? Or you could be really phenomenal at sales, but if your marketing stinks, there's no one coming in the door, right? So we have to think about these 3 pieces working together in order for us to be able to turn a profit. When we start thinking about this, now this is just an example, yours could look different, but you might have like a branding piece in there, that's your logo and the things around your company assets, your branding assets. Your customer service, see, I gave it its own little thing. Analytics, I like to look at the data, I like to make decisions based on data, and you could build it out, it could look something like this and be really fancy, right? Not necessarily everybody's. So this brings me to the main point, right? You're like, really? Finally? How far into this are we? 20 minutes and he's just landing the plane? All right. The hardest thing about social media, and this is what I see day in and day out, this is where I see real people, real businesses fail, has nothing to do. The hardest part about social media has nothing to do with running a Facebook page or posting to Instagram or figuring out how to get videos on either of those platforms. The hardest thing has to do with strategy. It has to do with the strategy of running a social media campaign. Because you could be really good at taking cool little videos and putting them up on Instagram, and they could be really great and fun and inventive. But if it's not feeding your strategy or being fed by your strategy, it may not be the right thing for you to do. Or you might be putting those videos on a channel that doesn't reach the people that you want to reach, right? So thinking about, yeah, go ahead.
After starting the question, is social media, though, more apt to be successful with a product, or is it more apt to be successful with a service?
Yes. So if you didn't hear, the question was, is social media better for a product or better for a service? I'm a service-based business, and I do just fine on social media. I also know products that do really well on social media, but I also know services that fail at social media and products that fail at social media. The answer is, it really doesn't matter what you're selling. Go ahead.
My marketing plan, I have a construction company in Silverport, so, I'm looking at being part of associations, being part of different things, that gatherings, et cetera, conventions, at which point then I've got all of this input coming in, and all of these areas of sale and so forth. And if anything, social media might be the one area. How do I define who's coming in? I mean, otherwise it's a face-to-face.
Right, so that's a good question. He's saying he's doing all these things to engage. He's in industry organizations, and he's a part of all these groups. How do I define who's coming and how do I do it? So here's the bottom line. If you're doing these things really well, like you're saying, in the real world, and they're working, then social media is just an add-on to that. So here's the example. So I'm running a business, and I join a professional organization, and I go to their events, and I do really well meeting new connections. The social media component with that would be, maybe this group of people all use LinkedIn, and I'm going to connect with these people on my LinkedIn channel. That's part one. So I'm going to start gathering these people that I'm meeting in the real world, and I'm going to add them to a social media network or invite them. I'm using LinkedIn as the example. This is where the strategy comes in. So just because I added these four gentlemen in the front row to my LinkedIn page doesn't guarantee anything's going to happen. They may add me back, they may not. We'll assume that they all add me back. So now we're all connected. Well, if I don't say anything on LinkedIn, nothing's ever going to happen, right? It would be like shooting a video and never uploading it to YouTube. You have a video, but no one's watching it. So what I have to do now is figure out how to connect with these folks. And one of the easiest things to do is to connect with them in a way that positions me as an expert in what I'm doing. Because I'm talking about LinkedIn specifically. So my expertise is marketing. So I start posting on LinkedIn about things I think I know about marketing. And then all of a sudden he goes, you know what, my marketing stinks. And Josh is talking about marketing all the time. Maybe I'll give him a call. At that point, the strategy is more like a top-of-mind awareness campaign. It's about, I met you in the real world, or we're connected in the real world through an organization we're a part of, or some other relationship. I want to keep connected with you in the digital space because I don't get to see you all that often. And here's the other thing. You see my post because your marketing stinks. It doesn't. His marketing's amazing. I'm just picking on him, right? So you say, my marketing stinks. I'm going to reach out to Josh. But also along the way, I think what Josh had to say is so valuable, I'm going to share that through all the people on my LinkedIn. And that becomes that exponential growth of using social media. We're getting a little into the logistics of how social media works, but it's this, the strategy is simple. I want to connect with people, then I'm going to position myself as an expert and hope they share that content with other people. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to spend some time as we round this out talking about strategy. So what we are thinking about here is storytelling, right? Because we talked about marketing as telling a story. So what's your storytelling strategy? The first piece of that is who? Who are you trying to reach? Who's your product for? Or who's your service for? So we have to think about this. We have to think about customer profile. So we need to really drill down to the age of the person we're trying to reach, or the age range, the gender, the marital status, the location. And here's the reason why. It would be really great if everybody in the world needed marketing services from me, but they don't. because not everybody runs their own business and not everybody's in a position to make that decision. And if I whittled those people out and I got rid of that group, the people who don't need marketing help or don't run their own business or aren't in a position to make a decision, and I'm left with people who fit that, there's still more to be discovered. There might be people who don't need marketing because they have it, right? So as I think about the people that I do business with, I start thinking about the people that I see the most often or the people that I might relate with the best. But we have to go one step further. I was doing a workshop down in Colfax, and the owner of Colfax Computer was there. And she said, well, my business is kind of anybody. It's anybody with a computer. And I said, well, what do you do? She said, well, we sell computers, but our revenue really comes from repair and service. And I said, then it's not everybody with a computer. It's everyone with a computer who's willing to pay for help. Because I'll solve my own problems with my computer. I'll Google it. I'll figure it out. I've even installed my own hardware before. I'm not your customer just because I have a laptop. Your customer is somebody with a laptop who experiences a problem and is willing to pay for it. Do you see how that's different than just somebody with a computer? So for me, I primarily work with small to medium businesses. But that doesn't mean I can work with every small to medium business. It's every small to medium business that's in a position to hire somebody to help them with marketing and is interested in outsourcing it versus in hiring internally. And there's a difference. So what does that business look like? And the thing is even if you're doing business with another business like I am, it's still run by people. And you'll find commonalities. You'll find common ground. The businesses that I work with tend to fit a specific makeup. So as you're thinking about your product or service, you have to think about not only who is the person who's going to buy it, but what is that problem you're really solving, right? And how do you drill down to that? That's the first step. And the reason is, once you figure this out, the information will tell you where they're spending their time online. In the resource guide I will send you after this, there's a couple of awesome, amazing resources found for free through the library. One of them is called Reference USA, and the other one is called Demographics Now. And if you use those two tools combined, you can start sorting out maybe some other things about these folks, like what are their interests and what are their hobbies, and then where are they spending their time online. There's another one called Pew Internet or Pew Research, and they have all these great stats on internet usage. That's in the resource guide too. So using these three resources, and oh, by the way, don't be afraid if you don't know how to use Reference USA or Demographics Now, both the county and the city library systems do free training on those. You can walk into the city library today and get a sit down with Mark Pond. You can schedule with him, and he'll run you through how to use these. They're very big brothery, so we take off our individual hat, and that freaks me out, and we put on our marketing hat and go, oh, it's great to get all that kind of crazy information about people, right? Here's the thing. I was working with a school that it's not really an alternative school, but it kind of is out in the valley. And part of their strategy, one of the goals of their strategy was to recruit more educators. It's a hard place to teach at this school. You deal with a really interesting group of students. So one strategy was to recruit students to the school. That was one part. But the other part was they needed to recruit new educators. And I was challenging them on this. I said, well, you got to tell me about this. And we were working on it. And we got to interests and hobbies. And I said, what's something that stands out to you about all the people who teach here? She said, well, all the people who teach here actually are pet lovers. Now, all different kinds of pets, but they all love pets. And the other thing is, they are all on their second career. Teaching was not their first option. They got into this because they have a passion for wanting to help students and kids who are in rough situations. So armed with that information, I can now create a strategy for using social media, and it doesn't matter what social media site it is, or even if I know how to use it. I can start talking about Bring Your Pets to Work Day, where we take pictures of the staff as they bring their pets. We can do a Pet Profile of the Week post, where I talk with an educator and get a picture of them and their pet, and then talk about that on social media. And then now I see that. Somebody else sees that, and they go, well, I'm on my second career as an educator, and I like pets too. Oh my gosh, this seems like the perfect place to work. Do you see how that comes together when we do our homework and we figure out who's really going to be buying from us? The other thing is, as we go back to that quote at the beginning, when we talked about social media is about the people, not about your business. When you understand what makes your customers tick, it gives you a whole lot more to talk about than just your product, your company, and your service. You can talk about the things that matter to the people and how your product integrates into that life. Watch any TV commercial and they do that. Like the laundry ones. It's never about laundry, right? It's about how you can go out and do all these crazy things and get your clothes covered in blood and mud and whatever, and it'll magically come out clean. It's very little about the laundry. It's all about the lifestyle of the people who need to clean their laundry. Like they used to say in marketing, it's not about selling the steak, you sell the what? The sizzle, right? I'm not selling meat, I'm selling how cool it sounds on the grill, right? So we have to think about that, and that will help you with your social media campaign. All right, so the next piece. We have, why? Why are you using social media? You have to have goals. And they're not just revenue-based. That's cheating, right? I'm going to use social media to make money. No, that's not it. So I'll give you some examples. I was working with KSPS. They're on the South Hill. It's the local public television affiliate. And I said, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish with social media? They said, we know that people who are watching KSPS are watching, and we also recognize that social media may not be the place to convert new viewers. What we are really interested in is engaging with our viewers when they're not watching TV. We want to be a part of their lifestyle, because what they identified about the people who watch public television is that they're lifelong learners, people who want to learn new things all throughout their life. So they can support that with a social media strategy that adds value to that person by creating, posts around facts or did you know or wouldn't it be great kind of things. They can post links to articles all about enhancing that lifelong learner's experience. Engagement was their goal, not more viewers, not sponsorships, not donations. So thinking about goals, we have to think beyond dollars. Like, I want to show people how my product fits into their life, and my product helps them live a full life. I'm making all this up. So if your product is all about helping somebody live their fullest, best life, then your social media strategy is about showing people how they can live their best, fullest life, right? So we have to think, what is your strategy? Is it to connect with people? Is it to engage people? Is it to promote all the cool? So one of the things that I find myself is I stumbled into on accident this ecosystem that's all about supporting entrepreneurs and small businesses. It's why I have a relationship with Startup Spokane. And I realized that happened because I'm really passionate about people who are running a small business or starting a small business. I'm really passionate about helping people who are entrepreneurs and looking to start a business. And because of that, I just found myself around organizations that were doing the same thing. So my strategy on social media becomes, I want to help and continue to support that small business owner and that entrepreneur even when they see my posts on Facebook. My posts become about content for them, and how can I support them in their journey, and how can I help them along the way. So we have to think, what are our goals for social media? So we know who we're trying to reach, we know why we want to reach them, what is our purpose. The next thing we have to think about as part of our storytelling strategy is what. And what I mean by that is, what channels will you use? You should have enough information at this point, understanding who your audience is and understanding why you're using social media to determine which social media sites make the most sense for you. If you're not quite sure how to get to that place, here's a 3-step, super simple. We do 3s as presenters because I guess it's easy to remember. I would probably do like 15 if it was up to me, but we'll keep it to 3. The first thing is, we've done this, right? We have to explore. We've done that because we've done our homework as a part of our strategy. We did the white part. So we know where they're spending their time. Let's pretend that your audience, my customer, it's spending their time on Instagram. That's where they spend a lot of their time. So that's the social media site I'm going to use to reach them. I have to now start interacting with them. And what I mean by this is, my advice is, get a personal profile on that social media site if you don't already have one. And if you have one, that's great. Start using it on a regular basis. Get familiar with it. Learn it, right? And the workshops that I'm doing the next few weeks cover that ground a little bit more in detail than we can do today. But you have to start learning it. So you're learning it, and then you learn that hashtags, right? Hashtags are used on Instagram. Did you know the average number of hashtags in an Instagram post is 11? And if you're like, I don't really understand what a hashtag is, and I can't think of 11 to put in my post, then you're not ready to start using this for your business. You have to figure that out. So we're going to explore, we're going to find out where they are, then we're going to interact. We're going to figure out how they're using it, because we're going to use it too. And only then do we have permission to start engaging them. Because if you got on Twitter and didn't realize that Twitter has only 240 characters, but you were trying to write a book when you were tweeting, it's not going to work. Or if you don't understand how to use the thread function so that you can create a story with that book you wanted to write. And the key here is the relevant content. It's relevant to who? Is it relevant to me? No, it's relevant to the people we're trying to reach. So I always give this example, but say you run a pet store and you hate pets. Are you the best person to be writing and creating the content for your business? Probably not. Right? If you run a coffee shop but you hate coffee, are you the best? And we find that if you think about it, like, I love marketing. I'm lucky, but I've met a lot of business owners who are really good at creating a product or a service that they don't really enjoy themselves. They just are good at it. So for them, creating relevant content is a little difficult, and you might find yourself in that place. So you recruit people to help, or you put that part of your brain aside. Here's another quote. I like this one too. David Alston says, social media is not a media. And what he means, it's not an engagement. He said the key is to listen, engage, and build relationships. So social media, not a media. The key is to listen, engage. It's not a broadcasting tool, is what he means. It's not a megaphone. And that's how it gets treated a lot. The key is you have to listen, engage, and build relationships. If you're posting stuff out there on whatever social media site, and you're getting comments because you did a good job, and you're never responding to those comments, are you doing a good job of using social media? No, you're not. People are reaching out to you. They're trying to engage with you. You're not listening, you're not engaging, and you're not building relationships. So here's the one that we're all familiar with. If you have your Google My Business profile, or you have a Yelp profile, or maybe you have Facebook, and people have left you reviews, and you're not responding to them, are you doing this? No. And if they're negative reviews and you're not responding to them, are you doing this? No. Should you respond to negative reviews? Yes. Every time. Every time. Even if it's just to say, my tip is always say thank you. Thanks for taking the time to share with me. Bummed to hear about this. Here's somebody you can call or email to have this conversation more. Get the conversation offline. Don't argue. Don't bite. Don't retaliate. But we have to remember that it's about listening to the people we're trying to reach, engaging them, and building relationships. Okay? All right, let's keep going. I don't even know what time it is. What time is it? Oh, okay, we got plenty of time. All right. Who, why, what, and now where. So you did the what, so you figured out what social media sites you can use. But here's what happens, especially to nonprofits. I'm going to be really mean to nonprofits here for a minute. Nonprofits look at social media like free marketing, because very few of them cost money, and we can sign up for all of them for our organization. And they have every social media profile that they can sign up for, including Pinterest and Snapchat and all these other ones. And then they're bad at all of them, right? I would rather you be really great at one than bad at 10. So if you are in that place where you've signed up for all of them because they're free and I need it and I'm so broke and I just want it all, then you need to scale back. And here's some things that you can do to get ready for that. One, I don't ever advocate deleting the profile, but maybe like on Twitter. Twitter allows you to pin a tweet to the top of your profile. Maybe say, hey, we signed up for this and we didn't have our ducks in a row. We'll be back soon. And then that way, every person that comes to your Twitter profile knows you're not currently using it, but you are planning to come back. If that's not what you do, and you just leave that tweet from 2013 there, and then I come to your Twitter page, what do I think? I think you're not in business anymore. Guess who is really good at doing that? Restaurants. Did somebody else say restaurants, or did I just hear, oh my gosh, yeah, I love it. I was like, was that an echo? Restaurants do this all the time, right? They either have a terrible website, so you're forced to go to Facebook, and then they haven't posted on Facebook since like May of 2012, and you go, are they even open? Especially, now think about if I'm traveling to your town for the first time, and I'm trying to find a cool place to go eat, right? We have to think about this stuff. So here's what we do. We create a timeline. We just go, I get it. I can't be good at all these yet. Now, I put Google My Business there because if you have a business with a physical location, this is your first stop. You have to go and claim it. And if you're not sure if you've done it, Google your business, and that map listing that shows up to the right will either say claim this as your own or it won't. And if it says claim this at your own, has it been claimed? No, right? So the other thing about this, it's not technically social because you can't like add followers, but you can post now to your Google My Business profile. And you can post events and pictures and all kinds of cool things, and it shows up right underneath the hours and the phone number for your business. So if you're running an event like this one today, and I Googled Startup Spokane, it shows up right under my map. And isn't it great to have posts that show up on your Google My Business page? Because who owns internet search? Google. Right? So you want to play by their rules, and we do that by signing up for your Google My Business. If you don't have a physical location, you can still sign up for it, and it's a totally great thing. I would just say if you have a physical location where you're trying to drive, that's your hub, you're trying to send people there, this is your first stop. And then you decide, okay, I got that on lockdown. It's not really a social site, but I'll claim it, I'll clean it up, I'll post to it occasionally, I'll set my sites on Facebook, or I'll set my sites on Twitter. Or anybody know what this one is? Nextdoor, right? If you want to know who's breaking into your neighbors' houses, it's Nextdoors for you. But you see a lot of businesses there. More on the services side, like roofers and gutter guys and tree people and lawn maintenance folks. But it's a really good place to be. And guess what? I see posts on there all the time. I need a good lawn maintenance person. I need this. I need a dog sitter, right? So if you're a dog sitter, you're in luck. I just found the social media site for you. But you build a timeline and you say, I can't get to all of them right now, and I'm not telling you you should. But I'm going to build a timeline to get them. And you know what you do is you start with Google My Business because I said so, and then you put the one that you know that reaches the most of your audience. And that's all backed on the research that you've done. And if you're rolling your eyes and going, oh gosh, research? I just want to bake cupcakes. Then you shouldn't be baking them for yourself. This is that part of the hard work, the grind it out that I talked about. The businesses that are succeeding understand who they're selling, and they understand this. They did the hard work. And it wasn't necessarily even in a business plan, but they understand where they're going and who they're trying to reach. All right, so who, why, what, where, I don't know where we're at. Okay, and then when. All right. Here's where we start really, the rubber meets the road. Now we have to talk about when. And what we're talking about here is how often do you post, right? So when you do your research, you'll find that a large chunk of people, and I'm going to make up the stat right now so it'll be fun, and it's something like 80% of Facebook users use it daily. Okay, so I know I'm going to reach people on Facebook. That's where my audience spends their time. I know they do use it daily. I also know they're mobile, so my website's mobile friendly, and I'm ready to go. Hey, what are the odds of them seeing your post today? 0. But if you did your research and you found that LinkedIn's the right profile for you, and you find that the average person really only logs into LinkedIn like 2 to 3 times a week, and you posted on Monday, do you think you're okay for today? You might be. Yeah. Your strategy's different. Twitter's chronological. It's the only one that's still chronological. All the tweets happen in real time, right? Just follow the president. You'll see. Real time. That's not a political joke. That's a social media joke. All right, so real time. Chronological. If I posted last week, does that work today? If I posted this morning, does that work? Twitter's fast. If you want to be seen, you have to be fast too. And I'm not saying that to freak you out, but you're doing the work. You're trying to figure out where to spend the time. You got to figure out when to post. So that can be overwhelming. People are like, gosh, every day, every minute? What are we talking about? So we create a roadmap. This is a really basic example of how to create a social media roadmap. I like spreadsheets. I think they're great. They're really easy. They're not overwhelming. And here's what we do. We just put Monday through Friday. Right? This is from one of my clients. So what I did here, because this was for their Instagram, is I found all these relevant day of the week hashtags, and I put those in the relevant tags thing. So even if they don't know what they're going to talk about on Wednesday, they at least know that they can pick from Wellness Wednesday or Way Back Wednesday, that's funny, Wisdom Wednesday, Workout Wednesday. And then what we did is we have like an example, so they could put they could put like, are we doing a picture or what are we doing? And then they have their content idea. And what I did is I just said on Mondays, we're going to have a general statement, a mission statement style post about the business. Because the idea is, and this should be in the resource guide I send you, there's a really great TED Talk from Simon Sinek called How Great Leaders Inspire Action. And in the TED Talk, he says that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. They buy your mission statement. They buy your values. Your product just happens to be what you make. So my mission at Tinderbox is, in everything we do, we exist to serve God by serving others. We have a very service-based business model, and we try to live that. So if Monday rolled around and I had a mission statement post, I would try to focus on that mission, on serving others. Right? So Tuesday becomes, they have a slogan at this physical therapy group. It says, if it's physical, it's therapy. And their campaign is, people send them pictures all the time wearing the shirt. If it's physical, it's therapy, while they're out doing physical things like climbing mountains. So on Tuesdays, they share one of those pictures. Right? Adds to the value, the lifestyle, right? Their people are going to physical therapy so they can get back out doing the things they love. So what do? We show pictures of people enjoying the things they love while wearing their slogan. Right? Then on Wednesday, we do allow a services post. So this is a day of the week that they're going to post about their services. And then we go on. And here's what happens. You wake up on Friday and you go, gosh, it's been a long week. You're having your first cup of coffee. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to post. Oh, guess what? We already roadmapped it. Right? We already figured out a general idea. Now, here's what I get a lot. Well, what if something really awesome happened and I want to post about it? Can I interrupt? You can do whatever you want. It's your schedule. You don't have to ask for permission. Absolutely. This is just a generic roadmap for when we can't figure out what we want to do. But if you've had an awesome week and awesome things going on where you were meeting all of your strategic partners and taking great pictures and you had really good lifestyle stuff, yeah, just ignore this for the week. Right? Ignore it. Come back to it. This is your I don't know what to do strategy within the strategy. Right? This is so we don't have to think that hard about it. But if you have great stuff, yeah, overrule yourself. You can do whatever you want. So I don't have a link to the spreadsheet because this is, like my clients, but this is the general idea. You can make your own. This just happens to be a Google spreadsheet. So that takes care of when you'll post, at least what you'll post on what days of the week. Right? And this was for their Instagram, so we were going to do daily, but their Twitter might look a little different. If this was for Twitter, instead of being one thing for Monday, it might be 3 or 4 things. And guess what? Twitter's really great. I tweet now, and you might see it, but the 3 of you back there, you didn't see it. So guess what I get to do? I get to reuse that tweet later. Because even if you saw it and you see it again, you're not offended because that's Twitter. Right? So there's a guy, his name's Guy Kawasaki. That was a lame pronoun to use. There's a gentleman whose name is Guy Kawasaki. Guy was originally in Apple, and now he's a part of Canva, which is one of my favorite things ever. It's like graphic design for dummies. And Guy at one point said that his most important tweets he will reshare 3 to 4 times a day. His most important ones. So if your strategy for this is Twitter, you might have 3 to 4 different lines within Monday and 3 to 4 different lines on Tuesday. And one of the things on Monday that you tweeted, you'll tweet again on Wednesday and maybe again on Saturday, right? This doesn't have to be harder than it seems because we can trick the system. We can game the system a little bit. All right. I want to make sure I'm sensitive to everyone's time. Oh, we're perfect. Okay. So here are some other strategy thoughts, some things to think about. The first one here is you have to be intentional. So we're talking about content and we're talking about reaching a certain group of people. We have to be intentional. And what that means is we have to be thoughtful about what you say. So I mentioned my business, my mission, serve God by serving others. Guess what I get to do? I get to mention scriptures every once in a while if I want to. I get to mention church if I want to. I get to talk about God if I want to. Because from day one, my business was built that way. Right? What I don't get to do is shift gears and talk about politics when I've never talked about politics before. Because I do a bait and switch on my audience. You don't get to do that. Yeah, I mean, you can, but people are going to be frustrated with you. The idea is we have to be using the same voice, and I'm jumping ahead and I'm not skipping my slides as fast as I should, so this will come up again. But you have to be consistent. If you don't swear, you don't get to just drop the F-bomb next week, right? And by and large, I think Gary Vaynerchuk, or whatever his name is, he was just doing this video interview where somebody asked him, why do you swear so much? And he was like, well, I effing swear because effing this, and I believe in being effing real, and blah, blah, blah. And if I go to my kid's school and it's career day, I'll effing swear there too. And I was like, whoa. No, I'm not kidding. Watch the video. And that's fine. And his point was, this is who I am, and I believe in being transparent and authentic, so I'm not going to change that. And that's fine. And if that offends you about him, you probably weren't a good fit to do business anyway. And that's the same thing for my business. If it bothers you that I put my faith in the middle of my business, we weren't going to be a good fit anyway. Doesn't mean I'm going to beat you over the head and try to convert you. It just means it's important to me. I've actually done business with folks sitting across the table from me who told me they were an atheist, but loved that I was all in on my mission and my faith. Right? So remember, I said that. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I didn't say that, Simon said it. But we have to be thoughtful about what we say. The next thought to that, the PS is content is queen. And I used to say content is king, but it's 2019 is 2019. We live in a different era, so I want to be inclusive. Content is queen. I would rather you not post something today and just skip the whole day than post something bad. Right? If it's not worth posting, don't post it. Anybody watching, I think it's called Tidying Up on Netflix? Raise your hand if you watch Tidying Up. I think it's super great. So she's a little Japanese woman. Chinese? Is she Chinese? I don't watch it that much, I guess. We don't know. So she's Asian, and she's little, and she hardly speaks English. But she comes in, and one of the first things she has you do is she has you put all your clothes on the bed. And most people, it like goes to the ceiling. And then she says, if it doesn't bring you joy, I want you to get rid of it. Spark joy. So she says that. But the point is, she's all about keeping things that bring joy, right? Well, we should treat social media the same way. If your post isn't bringing you joy, if you don't love it, or if you don't think that your audience is going to love it, let's just skip it. Move on to the next thing, right? Don't force it, because people will know when you're trying to force it. All right. Consistent. I said this, like I said, I skipped ahead. So the first thing is you got to set a schedule. That's not just Monday through Friday or Monday through Sunday. It's also time of day. So you'll get into this, you'll learn, you'll figure out what is the best time of day to post. I don't know. Research is all over the board. My gut and what I've seen anecdotally in my research is that like 7 to 9, 8 to 10 in the morning is always a good time. Why? Because people are getting to work, they're firing up their computer, and they're logging on to Facebook. Right? 1 to 3 is also a popular time because what? They get back from lunch, they fire up their computer, and they get on Facebook. And then you see another bump in the evening. You see another bump like after dinner, so 6, 7-ish. Hootsuite, which is a social media management tool, they just did a bunch of research, and they came back and they said noon to 3 is the most popular time to post. Right? And there's a difference. You'll see things on Facebook where you might get into the data. They have a tool called Insights where you can look into everything. And we talk about that in the other workshop really in depth. But you might find that all the people are seeing your posts at 8 o'clock at night. Does that mean you post at 8 o'clock at night? No. Because Facebook, the way it works with their algorithm, it has to generate enough interest. So it has to get likes and comments and shares. It's why you can post a picture about your kids or pets or food, which are like the top 3 things that you see all the time. Kids, pets, or food, and 2 days later still be getting comments on it on Facebook because it's algorithm driven. It's all about what got popular, what got clicks. But for us, for the rest of us, we're just going to set a schedule. And you know what? Honestly, start with what works for you. If you're a morning person, first cup of coffee is the best time for you, then that's when you post. Here's the cool thing is you can actually schedule stuff later. It doesn't have to go out when you're doing it. Most social media sites have a built-in tool. Facebook has a built-in tool, and if it doesn't, you can have scheduling tools that'll do it for you. So you set a schedule and you keep it, because that's the most important thing. You have to keep the same voice. We talked about that. You can't shift gears. People don't like that. They don't like the rope-a-dope. And then you have to be committed. So here's what happens is I see people get all the way through the first 2 steps, and then they don't do it. Monday rolls around, they're like, I'll get to it later. You got to stick to it, right? If this is important to you, if social media is an important part of your marketing plan and an important part of your overall business strategy, then you got to do it. You don't get to cheat. Right? You have to do it. Because what happens if you haven't posted since May of 2012? People think you're closed, right? All right, so what the sequel? What the sequel is, what do I post? I've kind of given some things. I've given you some ideas. What are the things I post? I don't know, right? Is it a picture? Is it a video? Do I post inspirational quotes? I was working with an organization, and I was looking through they were just like, hey, we just want you to take a look at what we're doing and give us feedback and help us create a plan. Awesome, I love it. And I was looking through their posts, and it was like 90% of what they posted on Facebook was an inspirational quote. Do you think they're still reaching people with that? I mean, not really. Maybe. So this is from HubSpot, and again, you don't have to worry about writing any of this down. This is just like a big list of things that you can post. But I'll point out some things. How-tos are great. If you have a product that's maybe not difficult to use but has a lot of uses, you can do how-tos. FAQs are great. We always tend to put those on our websites because we know we get asked those questions a lot, and we don't like getting asked those questions, so we just put an FAQ and hope we don't get bothered. We'll post one of those every so often. We get asked this question all the time, and because we get asked this question all the time, we thought we would come and let everybody know what the answer is. Right? And what would be even better is if you did a video and it was you answering the frequently asked question. You have podcasts are really popular. Startup SoCan does a podcast. You have things like SlideShare. So I could take this deck and I could share that on social media. But what I've started doing is I take the content that I do in presentations and I blog about it. A lot of people do that. They do workshops and presentations and they say, well, I don't know what to blog about. Well, you just did a workshop. Turn it into a blog, right? Here's what's cool for me. They're putting this today on YouTube. Is it also on Facebook Live, Brandon? Is it just, yeah. So there's now 2 pieces of video that have been recorded and should be memorialized on those channels that I can go back and share again later. Oh, missed the workshop I did last week? That's okay. Here's the full thing, right? And it's unedited glory. Lots of ideas. You could do an online game. Memes are really popular. Those are like the pictures with the words that you would used to see in like your dentist's office. It's like a mountain and it says inspiration. Like those are memes. That's what that is. All kinds of ideas here. And that's the thing is you might find you get stuck in that content rut where you're just kind of posting the same thing, inspirational quote day after day. So look and see what other people are doing. One of my favorite things is I like to look at what my competitors are doing. Right? And not the ones that aren't doing well. I like to look at the competitors that are doing really well. So like restaurants, you look at what the busy restaurant's doing. I like to see what they're doing. There's no shame in that, right? See what they're doing. Okay, there's content ideas. So I have a quote from Guy Kawasaki because I like what he has to say so much. But he said, every social media post should have a beautiful graphic. If there are 2 identical stories, the one with the beautiful graphic will always win. And his point is, better than saying it, is showing it, right? You know Facebook, how we have like the profile picture, that's the square. For some of you, it might be the circle as they roll through upgrades, but it's the profile picture. It's where your logo should be on your business page, or it's where your face should be and not your cat on your personal page. And then you have the big one, right? You have that timeline cover photo or whatever we're calling it this week. I always tell businesses, the small one should be your logo, because every time you post, you're building your brand. Nike didn't get to Nike overnight. They used that swoosh on everything, and then eventually we all just figured out what the swoosh was. So if Nike had been invented now with social media, I guarantee that swoosh would be on every profile pic. So every time they post, they're building their brand. We can do the same thing, right? So our logo goes in that smaller one. The big one, I always say, should show me what it's like to do business with you or to use your product. We have to show people. And remember, it's not just showing them riding your skateboard. It's showing them how riding your skateboard makes me feel like I'm 15 again. Because that's the value. You're selling skateboards to old dudes. Like if that's your model, then you show old dudes riding skateboards and enjoying things and looking awkward and weird while they're doing it. All right, so remember, if you have the ability to show me instead of tell me, you should do that. Okay? What are we at? Oh, we're right on time. Okay, and so, oh, look at it, I'm on my last slide. I did this perfectly. So now what? All right, the first thing is you have to get comfortable. You did not learn to drive in a day, and if you tell me you did, you're full of it. You did not learn to drive in a day. You're not going to learn social media in a day. It's just going to take time. You're going to have to use it. Focus on your story. Focus on your strategy. Remember I said marketing is that storytelling thing. Your business has a story, or it fits into the story of your customers' lives somehow. So figure out what that is and focus on that. Focus on that piece of it. The next thing is start small. I really want you to get confident and build your confidence over time. So that means starting small. Start with something that you know you can do and it can accomplish and build up over time. Figure out your audience. I can't stress that enough. I see that's where people fail in their marketing plans all the time, is they think too big. Realtors do this. They go, well, I can list every home in Spokane, and I can work with every buyer in Spokane. And the reality is you can't, because you may not like millennials, or you may not like baby boomers. So trying to say you work with everybody is not a good strategy. You have to figure out your audience. It's okay. It's going to feel like it's not as many people, but I would rather you have like 75% of a smaller market than 0.000000001% of like a bigger market, right? The math doesn't add up. Here's the other thing. You need to figure out what social media sites exist for you. So part of my strategy in my business of, serving God by serving others is we do free marketing reviews. And I didn't intend that as like a shameless plug for my business, but it makes sense here to talk about it. So we do marketing reviews. And what I do is I have a questionnaire and I ask people to fill it out. And they fill it out and they tell me all the things they're doing to market their business, and then I provide them feedback on that. Almost every single review I do, I find a social media site that they didn't know they had. Could be LinkedIn, could be Twitter. And then, like, half of those people don't know how to get into the social media site I found. So not only do you need to determine what social media sites you already have out there, what channels you already have, you need to have a process for tracking your passwords. This is where I get on my soapbox and I say, track your passwords and write down your passwords, because I see too many businesses get taken hostage or held captive because they don't know how to access their website, or they don't know how to get into their Facebook page. Right? You have to be, and as an owner or an operator, you should always be the one who's the admin. Always. Don't let that person who runs the register for you be the admin. And then figure out from there what channels you need to develop out, right? That timeline plan. Okay? And then, like I said, I don't have enough cards for everybody. There's my contact information if you want it. But also, I'll just send you this deck and you can get all my contact information off of that and then off the email I sent. And because this is the shameless plug part, you can get a free marketing review from me, and that's all I have. So there you go. I am not quite a minute. Wait, am I 3 minutes over? 3 minutes over, 4 minutes over. I apologize, but there's your lunch and learn, and have a good afternoon. If you have any questions, you can come up and ask me afterward.
Really quick, before all of you leave, can I get a show of hands of how you found out about this event so I know how I'm reaching people? So social media? Our website, Google, something else that I didn't list, GSI, LinkedIn. Okay, awesome, thank you. And then how many of you are from outside of the downtown area? Awesome, keep coming back. Okay, that's all I have for you.